Happy Valentine's Day, Chad Chop. How you doing?
Doing good, buddy. Love to be here with you. Full of joy and happiness and thinking of other synonyms for love. But super
Love,
pumped, dude. Let's go. Happy
pink,
Valentine's Day.
heart, chocolates, balloons. I'm just
Flowers.
ballooning inside. My soul is a flower right now, blooming to see you and chat with you. No guest today on episode 56. We're giving all of our future guests the Valentine's Day off to go hang out with their better half, which is a good call, right?
Yeah, we didn't have the heart to ask him to come on today. Bang.
So
Perfect.
good.
Pretty good. Pretty
Um,
good pun.
Man, oh man, big ups to all of our Patreons. We thank you for continuing to support, listen, share. I love this. I love our Tuesdays, man. I love this podcast, and right out of the gates, I want to throw something out there to all the Patreons. We want to start bringing you on. If you're willing, shoot us an email. Shoot me an email, coachballgame@gmail.com. We want to bring you on for a little 10-minute Q&As, just chit chats. Talk about your life and why you think this podcast is important to you and how you've become a better coach because of it. I think it would bring great conversation and really just a thank you to all of you that actually throw a few dollars our way. And I actually don't even know how we get that money. I don't know where that money is, but it's in a pot somewhere, and Tommy Gold knows where it is, and we're just sitting on it right now. And once it hits like $100, we might, I don't know what, get a pizza party going or something, Coach.
Yeah, we might do a pizza party right now. It's just somewhere in the cloud. That's where the money's at.
Hey, what do you got going for Valentine's Day? You first, I'll bet second.
I'm going leadoff. Well, we had a big day yesterday. We went to Costco, and we didn't have time to swing by Bed Bath and Beyond. But over at Costco, they have a really good deal on roses right now. So got the wife some roses, and then today we're going to go to a really good local restaurant called Harvest,
Yep.
and we're going to do a lunch because it's way too hectic at night once the kids are back home and with baseball practice and the whole 9 yards. So we're gonna do a nice Valentine's Day lunch. Um, my wife's the best. She's the engine that drives our family. She's the engine that drives me. Um, Earlier today, she was doing Valentine's Day for everybody at school, and I just was like looking at her in amazement from my elliptical machine right back there. And I'm just like, Deb, nothing gets done without you. Like the world is run by moms,
Mm-hmm.
and so just kind of overwhelmed with just love for her, appreciation for her. And I know for me, and I'm sure all of us other husbands out there, we can always do a better job. So um, this is that day where we get to just really make sure it's about them and that we love them.
Would you say she's the diesel engine
Oof.
of Bang?
Bang. That's 100%. Yes.
That is her nickname, and
It
yeah,
is.
I concur wholeheartedly.
Mm.
Of Mrs. Ball Game, same thing, and we're in a hotel right now as we're renovating this house, and it's going to be a lot of days of just kind of grinding as they kind of fix this house up a little bit. But we're in the common room of our little hotel suite, and she's dishing out the candies and the chocolates because the girls have to give out Valentine's to all of their classmates. And I'm like, wow, I missed that email. Didn't know that was going on. Yeah, the moms run the thing. So I kind of wanted to go down a little top 10 list for my better half, Mrs. Ball Game. Maybe you've got a little top 10 for the diesel as well. And just throwing back some love to our wives. And maybe we got to get our wives on this podcast pretty soon. But before I drop that top 10 list, I wanted to catch everyone up to speed with my weekend. I went to
Yeah.
Tampa. Went to Tampa, and we did a little fun in the Florida sun with Bo Bichette and some of the Blue Jays.
So cool.
MLB, that's my first gig this year with Play Ball. Got in there on a late Friday night flight. We had a Saturday morning camp, and I was back home Saturday night for a little dance competition Sunday morning for the girls. So trying to grab those dad points on getting back to all these dance competitions that my daughters have. Shout out to them, by the way. They're also my Valentines today, Avery Jean and Aubrey James. But Bo Bichette, man, he's from that Lakewood area, St. Pete. Dante Bichette, his father, 14-year alum of MLB, absolute stud, still jacked, by the way. He was in attendance. George Springer was in attendance. Jordan Romano, one of the top closers in the game. And you had Santiago Espinal, one of the best second basemen in the game. So got a guy named Bubba and a lady named Thule that I want to talk about. This guy, Bubba, who has lined this field that Bo Bichette grew up on for the last 60 years. He's now 82 years old, and he has been coaching and raking the field and just being an absolute presence in that community through baseball for 6 decades. The boots on the ground there, the engine, if you will, that got that whole thing going with Bo Bichette was a lady named Thule. And 30 years ago, she's got her hands on the fence, looking in, peeking in at Bubba, and Bubba is coaching this group of girls doing some softball. And Bubba invited her in to play with the girls, and that team saved Thule's life. Thule has now spent the last 3 decades basically impacting that community just like Bubba impacted her life. And so being able to meet Bubba, and he got a big banner that day and threw out the first pitch to Bo Bichette. Being able to meet Thule, she was just so full of joy. You could tell that it was a very proud moment for them. And maybe the coolest moment I had was there's 70 kids out there, lots of parents. You got all these Blue Jays and all this MLB media out there that go up to Bo Bichette, and I'm like, you did this, Bo. You did this. And I mean, Bo is a pretty quiet guy. Like he doesn't show much on the outside. You should have seen him light up, man. Bo has put in a bunch of his own money to basically create this little league in his hometown for these kids. And it's just so cool to see a guy who's been nominated 2 years in a row for the Roberto Clemente Award, Bo Bichette, really doing something and making calls, inviting his buddies. George Springer was awesome. Jordan Romano, just so genuine and kind with these kids. Santiago Espinal, same thing. I got to chat with Dante Bichette a little bit, and I told him, your home run celebration, I don't know if you remember this one, but he hits it and then he just kind of turns his front shoulder back in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I said, what was that? What was that move? Do you know? Do you know the move?
I know the move. I don't know the impetus or why he did it, but I absolutely know the move.
So
He was like it was like a recoil.
It was a little recoil. He's a professional foosball player. During the strike of '94, when there was no baseball, he became a foosball player, and that's a foosball move where you turn that front shoulder and kind of recoil like that. And a day, sometime in '95, he hits a bomb, and he just impulse. He did that move, and that stuck. So an epic weekend with the Blue Jays, and big props to Bo Bichette. Really proud of that kid, and I let him know how proud I was of him because that was really cool stuff, my man.
And it's impacting lives. So it's like I was talking to our second baseman last night about that, and he's like, we were talking about our 20-year reunion down the road. It was really cold and rainy last night, and hail and all kinds of weird stuff out here, but we practiced, and I told him, I said, we'll remember this day 20 years from now. It was that crazy of weather, and we were out there and no one else was, I'm sure. And I told him, I said, hey, 20 years from now, we're gonna be looking back. And he said something to the effect of, and you're going to have a lot of rings on your finger. And I said, maybe, but more importantly, I'm going to impact a lot of lives. There's going to be thousands of lives that have been impacted, and you're going to impact lives, my second baseman. So you look at Bo Bichette, I just love it when you got people that get it. It's like, yeah, you were blessed and God blessed you with talent and you worked your tail off, but like, don't keep that inside. Like, you got to spread that, right? You got to spread that love. And that, I remember my Little League, Northeast Little League in Santa Ana. That was the epicenter of joy for me as a kid. Like, that was it. Like, go to the snack bar, get your nachos, get your chili billies, hit a home run, get a hot dog, turn a foul ball in to get nacho. Like, it was the highlight of my youth. So for Bo to probably had the same experience, for him to be like, hey, I'm going to make this happen and fund it. And for Bubba to put 60 years of service and to save Thule's life, and for Thule not just to have her life saved, but to double down and save other lives. Like, this is what we're talking about. We talk about the rolling ball and the rolling momentum of kindness and empathy. Love Bo Pichette. We got to get Bo Pichette on this podcast. I got to hear from him firsthand.
Yeah, I will do my best effort. I'm kind of in that funny area where I meet these guys for the first time, and I don't just want to throw out, hey,
Yo,
be on the
100%. Oh
podcast.
yeah. No.
Like you got to
Slow
marinate
burn.
the ask, slow burn on
Got
the
to be
ask.
organic.
But
Oh yeah.
hey, I got to do my thing. I got to tell the Roberto Clemente story in front of a guy that's been nominated 2 years in a row, and I think will win that award soon. His mom, very involved in the whole deal. I called her Coach Angel because she shows up and she saw me rubbing my tummy because I was hungry, and she's like, "How many sandwiches you want?" She does an Uber Eats, and I'm like, "I'll just take one sandwich, thank you." Wow, that's amazing. You're an angel. 3 sandwiches later, she said, "No, I'm giving you 3 sandwiches. Eat them all." And her and Dante, they were so proud of their son, providing uniforms for this group of kids who are going to play every Monday and Tuesday coming up on Bo's dime. Umpires will be compensated. Coaches will be compensated. Bubba will do the foul lines and be compensated for this. So you could just tell he was so overjoyed, and he lit up, man, when I said, you did this. Like, you could have not done this, but you did. Really loved some of the moments that George Springer had. He was the catcher during this Sandlot game, so he was really helping the kids get set up in their stance. Jordan Romano was like the first base coach, and then Santiago Espinal was working with the infielders, and there were 2 prospects from the Bahamas who I think we'll hear of down the road, who had this energy as they were coaching these kids as well. And man, I got to go to the Bahamas. I got to go down to the Dominican. I got to go down to Puerto Rico, because there's a different vibe. There's a different energy. It's this joy. And
Curacao too, Coach. Curaçao's got that joy.
Got to get there. Yep. And the World Baseball Classic is going to give us a lot of that kind of joy coming up. So I can't wait to consume all that as much as I can. But yeah, that was my highlight of the week for sure. I'm actually headed back to Tampa tomorrow to do 2 of my own sandlots, and I'll definitely be talking about hometown guy Bo and just this high wattage that he brought. He brought a high wattage of people, and I go to some of these places and it's just me and maybe a couple of assistant coaches. I mean, this was a World Series MVP, and this was a all-star closer, and an all-star shortstop, and a stud second baseman, Santiago Espinal. And then just a ton of Toronto Blue Jay support. So it was a big deal, and those kids, they all got nicknames, and it was super fun. So proud of that guy, Bo.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great stuff, dude. Love it. Proud of you, dude. Proud of you for being that ambassador for play ball. It's important, dude. So they got the right guy.
Man, I really found my groove with that, and it's a little niche. I'm emceeing a youth camp, but I've found a perfect fit for myself where nobody else can really do this. Like, okay, it's time to wrangle 60 kids, get them to be quiet, get them to listen, stretch them out, and then, get them divided up into small groups as they do these rotations around a baseball field. So, it really is a great fit. And then I get to meet some of these really cool cats that I see on TV every week playing baseball. So that's me. What about you, man? You had a week of baseball, and I think I saw an Instagram post where you got a roster that is has been named. What's going on in your world?
Yeah, we had media day on Saturday, which was awesome. And
And this is for your high school team,
this
right?
is our high school team, and the video that they came up with was such a cool idea. The kids love it. They're amped up. They're fired up. I'm fired up. It was just the vision. Our social media director, Terry Sebecki, and his son Colin, or Owen Sebecki, Colin's on our team, but they do such a great job. And he told us before, like, his vision, and I loved it. Like the old school video game select a player was really cool. And then he's like, "Hey, can you do some voiceover?" And I love a good voiceover, so I did the
Yes.
voiceover for it, and it turned out really good, man. It's fun. It's one of those things where these kids work so hard. You want to bless them with these kind of these fun things where it's, they get all the fake fun out of the way, which is all the hard work, so we can have the real fun, which is the roster release. And then we've just got a ton of games coming up. It is so exciting. And you know me, I love to compete. If they're keeping score, you might as well try to win the ball game. So we're going to go at it as hard as we can. We're going to win some games. We're going to learn from some games. And at the end of the year, we're going to be where the good Lord wants us, because these kids have put in every ounce of what they have, attitude wise, effort wise, attention to detail wise. I'm so proud of them and their work. So it's time to go, man. We've been grinding for, if you include the summer, it's been like 6 months of just grinding. And now it's time to show our parents and our opponents and our community all the hard work we put in. So I'm really, really excited for this group.
I dialed in a post on my social media about the grind and how practice is a time to grind and a time to be loud as a coach and challenge yourself as a player. But then the game is apples to oranges, man.
Yeah.
That is the time to entertain. That's the time to let it rip. That's the time to be free and fail and get back up again and chew gum and make people laugh and just play. Just be a kid. That's when you're at your best. And that's the message I declare anytime I'm speaking somewhere or speaking to coaches, speaking to presidents of little leagues, is right there. Yeah, there can be, as long as the tone is positive, there can be a healthy amount of challenge. And I love teaching the grind and teaching battle. And I'm pretty firm on kids that are disrespectful or lazy. I want to challenge them and push them, but I'm not going to do that in a game setting when the scoreboard's on and the umpires are dressed and ready to go. That's not the time. That's not the place. Teaching moments are really meant for after the game. They're meant for the next day in practice. So I've learned that the hard way, for sure.
And for our kids, our coaches, our players, anyone that's listening, if you have that feeling of fear or unpreparedness, and I'm speaking to the higher levels, our little league kids, like, hey, it's about fun, dude. It should not be, there should be no fear in little league. Fail, get up, dust yourself off. I'm talking about our older kids, our high school kids, or kids that are trying to play at a really high level competitively. If you have that feeling of fear, you haven't put in enough work, because your confidence comes through the preparation and that grind. So the only way to get rid of that fear is through a sincere focus on preparation. Get your swings in your backyard, get your work in on your defense. Once you've got those quality reps in, you can fall back to that when you get in the box of, like, I know I've done everything in my power to be ready for this moment. You'll be able to take that deep breath and just kind of let the awesomeness flow, dude.
Bang. On that note of experience, Chad Chopper, I'm going to these dance competitions now. Avery almost 9, Aubrey 5. And I mean, there's some competition there, and they've been working super hard on these dance routines. And then there's the judges, and there's the crowd, and the occasional mess up with Avery or Aubrey, and they're feeling pretty sad afterwards. I messed up. I missed this kick or whatever. And all I'm thinking is, who cares about the trophy? Who cares about the win? This experience that they're gathering in a high leverage moment where they've put a lot of work in, and now they're on stage, ninth inning, so to speak, and they're able to experience the feelings and the fear and the exhilaration. All of that experience is going to really help them down the road when something matters, when something's big, when they're trying to get into the college that they want to, or trying to get the job that they want to. It's just going to help them so much in real life situations. So, as a coach, I encourage you to look through that lens. When your kids are playing in these sixth, seventh, eighth innings, and it's a tie ball game, don't wish them to win that game. Don't will them to win that game. That's going to come off as anxiety and tension, which they're going to pick up on, and it's going to burn them out, and they're not going to enjoy that big moment. Look through the lens of, this high leverage moment is going to make them a really good father one day when they've got to make some tough decisions. So I encourage you to do that. That's the message that's transcendent of baseball or soccer or football or whatever sport you're playing. And that's why the life lessons are so big. And that's what I hear from all of these major leaguers, is the life lessons kids gain when they're just on a field and they're in a batter's box and they're in a high leverage moment. Give them that chance, and give them as many chances as you can. And then in 10 years, there's going to be a sense of calm when Avery goes out there in front of a big crowd and has a big solo dance that she has to do. There's this sense of calm that only comes from experience, right?
Yeah, you don't really learn a whole lot from winning. You don't really learn a whole lot from hitting the home run. You don't learn a ton from boat racing a team, so to speak. You really don't. If anything, it's a trap to complacency and maybe an over evaluation of one's talent. You truly learn when you can't get it done, right? When you really are struggling, when you can't get a hit off a guy and all these things. So as a parent, as a coach, get ready, because if it's the right type of player or recipient for that trial, they're going to grow, and it's your job to try to put them in that right mindset to see that this failure is really nothing more than an opportunity to advance to the next level. And that's it. It's like what Mike Tyson said, like, adversity makes the strong stronger. So that's the vibe that we want to send, of like, hey, go out there and give it your very best. And if you do well, awesome. And if you don't do well, hey, like, what a great opportunity for you to try to figure it out. Like, in fact, if you consistently do well, we got to take you to another spot where you can fail. You got to fail. Derek Jeter said that too. Like, you got to know how to fail. If you don't know how to fail, it's coming for sure as you progress in baseball or life. And if you haven't learned how to deal with it and navigate it, then it's going to be a real problem that you're going to have to face head first. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I love it. And those dance competitions, for those that don't know, hey man, this is hair, this is makeup, this is bright lights, this is pressure for these kids. And good on your girls for going through it. I'm proud of them.
I'm also very, very excited about the dance crew that they're in. I mean, it goes from ages 5 up to 18. So there are these mentors, these 17, 18-year-old girls that I just love that my daughters have somebody to look up to. That is huge. And these are all really just well-rounded, strong, smart, kind young ladies that when I drop my girls off at dance class, I know, they're going to have these big sisters that are going to help them along the way. That means a lot. So, super proud of my two little Valentines. But I teased a top 10 list for Mrs. Ballgame. Do you have Would you say you have a top 10 list on the diesel? If I throw one out, you could come right back at me, and we'll just have a little sword fight of who's got the better wife here. What do you think?
Man, I'll definitely give it my very best shot. It'll be off the cuff, but I mean, I've been ad-libbing for darn near 42 years, so I'm not going
Hey
to stop
now.
now.
Well, there's no better better half in this ball game. Mrs. Ball Game and the Diesel, they carry us.
Yeah.
But number one is that sarcastic sense of humor. Mrs. Ball Game has the ability to kind of turn something pretty dark uh, into something funny, and me just being happy roses when I wake up, kind of a kid. You know, she sees the reality of life, and she can throw a little bit of sarcasm and salt into humor, and I just love that. So number one on the list for me, sarcastic sense of humor. What do you got for the
Yeah.
diesel?
I mean, if we're talking humor, the Diesel's got humor. Now she doesn't go the sarcastic route. She goes the I don't take myself too serious route.
Yeah,
And she is just a real goof in a great way.
she
And every
is.
single day she makes me laugh and smile. Um, yeah, she uses humor absolutely as a huge tool. It's one of the things that helped me fall in love with her was just like she could make a good situation great and a bad situation okay through a number of ways. But one of the main ways she does it is with humor. So
And
I mean, I'll second that.
that's clear that as soon as you meet the diesel, right
Yeah,
away, out of the gates, goofball humor.
oh
It
man,
is there. Yeah, super fun.
I agree.
Two, brilliant and elegant dancer. And I noticed this the second night we met. We're in New York, and if you don't know the story of how we met, we're both on a road trip in New York City visiting friends, and we met at Brother Jimmy's Barbecue, and the rest is history. But night two there in New York City, I just noticed she's a brilliant dancer, elegant dancer. I'm not saying that I had to marry a good dancer, but it was a big deal. It was a big deal for me. It just kind of something I didn't even know I needed. And she's got it, and now the daughters have that gene of hers. So that's number two.
Well, I'll stay with the motif of dancing. My wife is not an elegant dancer. She is a power dancer. So she's from the Roger Rabbit, like almost hip hop. She grew up in Long Beach when she was young, and she's got this. I mean, she's an exceptional athlete. So she uses that athleticism, but not in a smooth way. It's more of like a really aggressive, like a bite your lower lip. Like she's getting in
Oh,
there
let's go.
aggressive.
Yeah.
And we also met on a road trip on the opposite coast in San Francisco.
Come on.
Yeah. So she clarified that for me when we were talking about we just had our 20-year anniversary earlier this year. And I
Congrats.
was like, man, I remember the first time I ever saw you was in Newport Beach, and I declared I was going to marry you right then and there. She goes, it's actually not true. We met in San Francisco when we were both on a road trip. I was there with her brother. She was there with another friend. And yeah, but yeah, she can dance too, but it's a totally different dance.
Power dance.
Power,
I can see.
aggression.
I see like '90s hip hop. You
Yes.
know, early 2000s hip hop power.
Yes.
I've got the overbite dance for sure. I've got
Oh yeah, bud.
the head bob and the overbite, and that is power.
She's
Uh,
aggressive.
Uniquely gorgeous profile. Number three, I saw this night one. She's wearing a fedora, of course, in this barbecue joint where I was playing music with my buddies, and her sister was there, and her sister was kind of playing matchmaker. She was just kind of into the music, not really into me, playing hard to get, and but I could see that profile. And you know how people head on. You're very familiar with that angle, and it's a good looking person, but then you go profile, and they kind of look like a different person. um she just had this uniquely attractive profile that really caught my eye, and most of that stemmed from her not actually looking at me, because she wasn't into me night one. She was looking away and I was looking at her. But she's got a great profile. So there you go. Facial profile.
Love it. I'm gonna go with, I remember vividly when we were dating out in front of her mom and dad's house, the way the moon hit her eyes
Bang.
was just like
That's
take
romantic.
your take your breath away beauty. And she's got,
Moonlight. Moonlight
for me, yeah,
eyes.
for me, when you talk about beauty, like I couldn't, if you were making a make a player in a video game, I wouldn't change like her body. Like her body is perfection to me.
Yeah.
And to this day, 4 kids later, she's really hard on herself, but it's like, Deb, like, I mean, I'm as much in love with her now, actually more in love now than when we were dating. She's yeah. She turns people's heads, but she turns mine the hardest.
I
So
love it. I love it. Yeah, I always say that Tara Jean, prettiest gal in every room. And yeah, moms can be hard on themselves, but yeah, there's we've got some beauties, and number four for me is never ceasing caretaker of our babies. I mean, it's like it's just it's all the things I didn't even know existed or was needed. And she's just dialed everything in as far as the schedule. Like we said this morning, the Valentines that we're getting for the teachers, for the fellow students, um, just a never ceasing need to be a caretaker for our babies.
yeah, Deb does the same with the boys, and then she's on this other like kind of level of empathy that I don't know anyone else has, where like Christmas time she took over $10 gift cards, which isn't a lot of money, but the gesture of, we live right next to like an older folks home, like a care home. So she took blankets for all the folks that live there, but then she took $10 gift cards to all of the workers just to say thank you. Like, hey, I appreciate that you're loving on these older people. And like they started crying because they're like, no one ever appreciates us. But like for Debbie to have that empathy of like, hey, they need to know that what they're doing matters and it's special. And it's not this grandiose gesture, but it's a $10 Starbucks card from our club, our baseball club, saying, hey, thank you. But it was from Debbie, it's from the Diesel. And she volunteers at the food bank, and she's just constantly trying to better her surroundings. I don't know where she gets the time in the day. I really don't, but she's always had that. That is the opposite of how I look at life. Like I try to like kind of get narrowly focused on my circle of influence. But she's got this kind of unending circle of influence where she is constantly looking to love others. It's something I've never seen.
Yeah, same thing with Mrs. Ballgame, and Avery Jean has gotten that same gene where we're going to a birthday party, and I think it's just fine that we show up. Our presence is enough. No, we're going to go to Target. We're going to get a $15 toy. We're going to get a sweet little bag with that paper that you put in the gift
Sure.
bag,
Tissue.
and
Yeah.
the tissue there, and it's just it opens my eyes to my own laziness. It really is just kind of a lazy side of me where no, that's no, we don't have to do that. But yeah, that $10 gift card to somebody, I mean, it means so much. And I think of the people that always show up and give a gift. Like, man, I do want to be that person. Like, who's the best gift giver you know? Number five's that laugh. She's got a laugh, and I think as we're approaching 10 years, it can be tougher as you get into your years with marriage to make the other person genuinely laugh. But when I can get a genuine laugh out of her, oh my gosh, it's the best. So that laugh is it's kind of giggly. There's a giggle to it, but she feels so much, and she feels a lot of sadness because there's a lot of sadness out there. That when she can feel this full present joy, it comes out in this giggle laugh, and it's there's some snort in there too, and it's a beauty.
Deb has a very similar laugh. and 20 years running, and I can still make her laugh kind of at will.
Bang, that's tough
Bang.
to do.
But I
Well
love her.
done.
Yeah, I love her smile. I love her laugh. It lights up a room. So yeah, and she's always looking to laugh. So that kind of goes both ways. Like she's a jokester like I am. And that makes road trips more fun. That makes, doing the laundry more fun. That makes doing the dishes more fun. That makes before we go to bed more fun. She's just she's hilarious and funny and like loves to laugh and is always looking to kind of escape that sadness through, hey, is there somewhere we can laugh about this? So yeah, she's her laugh and her smile. I agree, man. Our lists are dialed. I mean, I'm piggybacking off of you, but I mean, everything
That's
you see in
good.
your wife, I see in mine.
These are good conversation starters with this list here. But it when what you were speaking of about Diesel, that gets into the zone of liking somebody. Like yes, there's love, but you really gotta like them. Like I like the way they laugh, and I like the way they approach different things, and so I think that might be just as important as the love that you have. Like you can love somebody, but to coexist and the difficulties that come with coexisting with somebody, you gotta really like them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you do. I to piggyback on that, you really do. Like love's tricky, right? Like you, especially in these long relationships, love can be tricky, and there can be these stagnant moments where a lot of times, and Debbie and I talk about this, when there's so much going on and there's stress, that really zaps kind of that the affection or the infatuate. Like the wife's doesn't really want anything to do with like you and I giving them that look and like trying to blow them kisses, and they're not feeling that, right? So it's you're gonna fall back to like liking each other
yeah,
and liking each other through the stressful moments, and then just having the commitment of knowing like, hey, quitting ain't an option. So like that's not something that's on the table. It's not anywhere near the table. It's not even in the house. So it's working through those situations together. But tell you what, liking your partner really helps you get through those tough moments.
yeah. And I've seen it firsthand. I had two older brothers, and they're now in a very healthy second marriage. But I learned from their first marriage, and I'm a product of a second marriage, and I've seen divorce, and the love, it's not the love that goes away. It I don't like that person anymore,
Yeah.
and so when somebody comes to me and they're about to get married, my buddy Jake, he's about to get married. What's your advice? Like like them, like continue to date them, and just keep liking them. What do you like about them? Um, that's kind of what you got to hold on to. Number six, her heart loves hard. I mean, and this is, uh, you know, I definitely love people, but she loves hard. And what I mean by that is she will make difficult decisions because of the love she has for somebody. She is not afraid of um, confronting issues or people or confrontation. She loves that hard that she will do what is necessary. Meanwhile, I've always been a pleaser, and um, I don't like confrontation or conflict. She doesn't either, but she loves so hard that she's willing to battle for somebody. And that's where my, I guess, kind of narcissism comes into play, where I don't want to make somebody feel uncomfortable. I don't want to rock the boat, and I do think that's based in self-love or narcissism that I'm trying to work on, and I'm learning from her. Sometimes you gotta have your friends back, and you got to do the right thing. And so loving hard, that's definitely an attribute of hers.
I'll give you an example of Deb's loving hard. She started a Taco Tuesday with some of our neighbors. So some of the women in our neighborhood, we're one of two families that are young. Everyone else is 85 years old plus, right? It's an older community here in Arizona, and So she started these Taco Tuesdays with Miss Penny, Miss Virgie, Miss Eleanor, a few other folks, neighbors. Well, Miss Virgie, she was up there in age. So a couple different times she fell. Debbie ran over there, helped her up, called the ambulance. One of her falls ended up being really serious. She had a stroke. She ended up dying. So Debbie was distraught. She's like, I felt like she lost her best friend. So fast forward, this is like a month ago. She's like, boys, I really want to start doing the taco again with taco night with, and she named a few other gals. And Boaz is like, oh, great, mom. Now you're going to get all emotional and sad, because everyone's dying. Right. But it's like, it's that heart, man. It's that love. It's that trying to make sure, especially for older folks too. It's like, man, like sometimes they get forgotten, but it's like, don't forget, these are people that were just like you and me 30, 40 years ago. And then they continue to age and maybe their family's far away or whatever the case may be. And it's like, they don't have to just be in their house by themselves. Go over there, bring them a bottle of wine and listen to a story about
Yeah.
their experience and their life and so my wife invited them over to drink margaritas and to have tacos and just to talk shop,
Yeah.
about life and gather wisdom from them. And uh, it's just Miss Virgie was a legend. She was, I mean, awesome. But yeah, that's a glimpse at Deb's heart.
It's awesome. You wouldn't have known who Miss Virgie was if it wasn't
No.
for that love. Um, Number 7, she battles, she grinds, and gets back up again. And I'm realizing as I turn 40, as you live more and more years, you see more difficult things. You see a lot of great things, but it's the same with a kid. It's the same with a golfer. You remember the bad shots way more than the good shots. You remember the bad experiences and the failures a lot more than the good ones. And so as we get older, so do our uncles and aunts, and you see people pass on, and you see just more bad things happen. And um, she feels everything. She feels other people's. She's an empath. Meanwhile, I can turn the page pretty quickly. That's just kind of how I'm wired. She feels things and she loves hard. So uh, somehow she battles, she grinds, and she never gives up. She just keeps getting back, and that really piggybacks on Diesel with Miss Virgie when she passed on. Like she was distraught. It really hurt her, and you realize we're all in this together, man, and every sad thing that happens, it happens to everybody. It happens to every family, and um, I guess that's why we need different personalities to work. But yeah, bounce back salute for Mrs. Ballgame.
Same with Deb and her brother too. They're twin brother. They're very in tune with emotion, right? And I'm like you. I'm not. Now as I get older, emotion starts to get to me and I find myself tearing up when I'm talking to 8, 9 and 10-year-olds about like something I know is really going to breathe life into them and help them on their journey, or when I see that random act of kindness, that gets me now. But for the majority of my life, and I think it probably helped me in sports when I was playing. But yeah, man, it was a very narrowly focused. There was some depth to my relationships, but there wasn't a lot of it was quality over quantity. Like I didn't really let a whole lot of people in, and I didn't make time for it. I really didn't. Whereas Deb's the complete opposite. She makes time and she makes herself vulnerable, right? Like you're talking about with Coach Ball or Mrs. Ballgame, where when you love that hard and that wide, like you're inevitably going to suffer more, right? Like it's a dangerous path. But to Mrs. Ballgame's credit and to my wife's credit, like they're able to recover and get back to the moment and get back into the present. I've put my wife through so many things in our 20 years where it's like, if she didn't have this resilient nature, she would have given up on me a long time ago.
Mhm.
5, 6, 7 years into our marriage, I would have been looking for another partner. But through her unconditional love for me, and just her just desire to see the best in people, and I'm at the top of that list, it got us to the other side of our marriage where now it's just this like overwhelming feeling of just, from on my end, gratefulness that she didn't quit on me, you know? So
Mhm.
it's a very powerful display of just unconditional love. But I kind of got off on a tangent there, but
Well,
yeah,
there's that
no doubt.
theme coming back, where experience and failure, you don't really learn from the wins, but I think every relationship has that that low point, and being able, being resilient, and still just liking that person so much that you're willing to battle, and get to the other side of it, happens in every relationship. And um, good on you guys for now seeing the fruits of that labor. But yeah, the experience, the grind, and being able to learn from it. It works in sports. It works in relationship. Number 8 is always putting others above herself. And yeah, this is just a, a, it just is an opposite with me. I think for some reason, like you were saying, there's just um, this one lane that I'm looking down, and uh, being for the most part an only child. My older brothers were much older than me, and a lot of attention as a kid. Mom, Dad, look at me, look at me, look at me. As an actor, as a musician, it's just there's this gravitational pull towards look at me. I am desperately needing your attention. So learning from her and seeing somebody totally opposite, doesn't want the attention, is always putting the attention on others and putting others above herself. Um, just a it's graduate school for me on how to get out of my own head and start really doing what is necessary. And yeah, I coach thousands of kids, and I impact a lot of different people, but there's always this buzz that I get when I'm on a stage, and that fits what I do for a living. It really does, and it's necessary. But at the same time, she's just a great she, there the word I'm looking for, like a compass. She's just a great compass of okay, you're too self-involved. Go do something for somebody else. Think about others. And um, you know, parenthood is a nice slap in the face whenever you're too self-involved. So I learned that probably the one thing I learned the most from her is just uh, always thinking of others before myself.
Yep, same. She's got that same characteristic, and it's helped me, right? Because it's kind of helped me get into this a better a better way of thinking where it's not all about me, it's more about how we can impact. Perfect example is like we're getting ready to go serve on the south side of Tucson on our south side campus. We're going to help build a koi pond and do a number of other things on that campus. I would never do that if I wasn't married to Debbie. It wouldn't even enter into my space of thinking. It just wouldn't. Like,
No.
but being with her for 20 years, it's like, what an amazing opportunity to bless and love those that are less fortunate. And we're going to take our whole baseball team like we did last year, and we're going to go serve on that campus as a family and as brothers. And instead of like where in the past, if I had to do something service minded, this is like 10, 15, 20 years ago, it would be something that I wouldn't be looking forward to. I would grit and bear it and do it. Now I can't wait. It's like, yeah, are we going to miss a practice? Yeah, we are. This, that, and the other. Great. It's going to be an amazing experience for our kids, for me. And yeah, dude, she's the same. I call her my true north all the time. So like you said, compass. Yeah.
And 100%. Yeah. When you follow that compass and you serve others and you do things that you'd never do and you don't really want to do because your routine says no to that, but
Yep.
then you do it, man, that's where the life is. Afterwards, you're like, wow, so this is what joy feels like, is building a koi pond for people I don't know.
Yeah.
And then bringing your kids on with it, bringing those players, and having them see that. That might be the most important thing you do all year, man. So good.
We're trying to build that empathy in them, right? And they're in that. If I can help them be better than I was, then I'm paying it forward, because when I was a player, it was about me. It wasn't about being a great teammate necessarily, outside of, hey, I'm going to drive in a lot of runs. That's going to make your life easier. The Barry Bonds approach. But I'm trying to instill compassion, empathy, love, in my players, so that hopefully they can be that for in their relationship, where maybe they marry someone who maybe doesn't necessarily have that, and they're that driving force for the empathy and love that Deb and Mrs. Ballgame have taught us.
Yep, build that culture, man. Number 9, most reliable person I know. Reliable. I've had relationships that um, ended, just because trust was kind of sacrificed, and I've been on the brunt end of kind of losing trust, and I've never had that thought that she is just 100% reliable in everything she does. 100% everything she wears right here on her face and on her sleeve, and I can rely on her 100%. There has never been a trust issue with her. So that's just that's a biggie, just something I really love about her, and I hope I can be the same exact reciprocation of that. So that's pretty simple. Where I don't, I do have a little PTSD from that, and she does too, on the trust issues. But we've been really good for each other about just making the right calls, doing the right things, and just building that trust like a coach would with a player.
Yeah, Debbie, the term we use for her is she's a doer. Like she's just, you need something done, you call Deb, and she's going to find a way to get it done. And yeah, she does it without expecting anything in return, which is rare. You find plenty of people that get stuff done, but then their hand comes out with like, "Hey, I did that for you. What are you going to do for me?" That's not Debbie. She'll do it, and then she'll say, "Do you need anything else?" So she's she's something else.
I've seen
But
that
yeah,
too. I've seen that part of her too, where it's just,
yeah,
yeah, that like that there are moments when they're being so kind to others and wanting to do things for others that it makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, no,
yeah.
that's I
That's
have an
too much.
uncomfortable feeling. That's too
Yeah,
much. And they're like, that's not enough.
yeah.
Uh, Lastly, and this one really dips into the like part. I really like her. That look that she gives when she's trying to pull one over on me. She's a prankster. This might shock people, but pranking people makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the pleaser part of me. I don't want people to feel fear or uncomfort. I want everybody to feel happy all the time. She loves pulling a good prank, and when she's pulling one over on me, there is this mischievous kind of moonlight gleam in her eye that I know she's pulling one over on me, and I just love that part of her, and that look that she gives when she's really acting. She's really trying to act serious, but you just know. And there are times when she does fool me, and I'm like, oh, and then she's like, ha ha, gotcha. But those moments when I can just tell that, like, one little look in her eye, um, I mean, one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, Deb doesn't have that ability to pull one over on me, because she'll just start laughing in this really awesome laugh. And it's just like, okay, Deb, what were you trying to do? It's like it never gets to there. She can't keep a secret. Like usually the kids end up knowing what the presents are before Christmas and all that good stuff. And I'm the same way in that sense. But yeah, she's not gonna pull one over on me. But I love the laugh that she has when she can't keep the secret. It's so funny. But yeah, you and I are the same in the sense of like, really like being around our ladies, man.
Yeah,
It's a
buddy.
beautiful thing. It's just to be able to drive to Costco together is like a blessing. It's we did that yesterday and it's just fun. It's like, hey Deb, this is cool. 15-20 minutes in the car together. We try to catch up. How's life going? How's
Yep.
your area and work going? She's a great coach. So we talk about some of our players and how she's got different ideas to help motivate them and get the most out of them and just help them be the best versions of themselves too. So yeah, it's that day in and day out. It's not the grandiose, it's the grind. It's the day in and day out. You got to find someone that you want to be in the foxhole with. And
Yep.
you and I are both very lucky to have our generals because they're in charge, not us.
And it's the sum of all the parts, those of you out there where you don't want to get in the car and go to Costco with your other half. We've had those days too. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. And you learn from it. It's so difficult um to not be selfish. It's so difficult to be selfless, and you have to remind yourself daily that sacrifice. And yeah, with all the bad days that have come and the low points, when you get through it, it gives you this perspective, and it makes all the high points that much better and fuller. And I really kind of think that's the meaning of life, is to go through the ringer to become the most whole person you can be, and then gain this perspective at the end of it all. And having a good partner really helps. It really helps your journey. So, to the Diesel and Mrs. Ball game, happy Valentines. This might be the first podcast Mrs. Ball game listens to in full, and I'm cool with that. But yeah, pretty neat how we have the same. They're different. They're
Orange
definitely
County
different
girls.
ladies. Orange
They're
County
both Orange
girls,
County girls.
and there's some differences there for sure with them, but our relationships kind of coincide. Pretty cool.
No doubt. No doubt. And it's a lot of times the term is opposites attract. So you and I are incredibly similar. And then we married kind of like in a lot of ways opposites, with that empathy and that compassion towards others, that they've just made us better versions of ourselves. And then in a small way, we've probably helped them from, I know something that Deb has is she'll be so selfless, she'll get spread too thin. Whereas you
Mhm.
probably have this ability to miss ball game. And so do I, have like, hey, Deb, like, I know you want to do that, but maybe I can help you with that. But you're not going to be able to do everything. I've heard all the promises you've made just today, and I wasn't around you yesterday, but I'm certain you made promises yesterday as well, because that's just who you are. Um, we've probably helped them be a little bit better in the sense of like being able to fulfill the things that they say they're going to do, just because we can kind of rein them back a tiny bit
Yeah.
from that endless compassion and empathy that they've got. But happy Valentine's Day to the Diesel, the love of my life, and to Mrs. Ballgame. Absolutely. We love you, ladies. You guys are the best. Can't do it without
Yeah.
you.
Nope. Couldn't do it. So that's all we got for today. We will work on some guests. I've got some ideas in mind. And MLB has begun. Pitchers and catchers have reported. So we'll continue to try and get some players, but we've got some folks that cover the game in mind as well. I think those have been great interviews in the past with broadcasters and journalists. And so we'll keep her rolling. And yes, to all our Patreons, shoot me an email if you'd like to jump on with us, and we'll just have a 10-15 minute conversation on the podcast. And I think it'll spur some really good conversation that other coaches and parents will find resourceful. So that's all I got. Much love to all of you on this Valentine's Day, and just go spoil that other half, huh?
Don't forget to rake, everybody. Don't forget to rake. Bang.